wipe the mayonnaise off on the extra side when you're getting a tuna fish sandwich, because if you don't, it's just too much mayonnaise and it's just gross.
And there's our lead in for the morning.
I literally did that. I sat down. I went, how many different awful lead-ins can I do? I filmed myself just saying different lead-ins.
And the first one was mayonnaise.
It wasn't actually. I'm pretty sure it was, and that's why you don't shave a poodle bear. And I was like, what? And I started different conversations like that with people.
I like that. And they're like, excuse me?
Or-
But just now when you said poodle bear, you know what I thought of? I thought of a poodle bear. It's 2023. You know, you couldn't put it past some mad scientist. There's probably a poodle bear out there somewhere.
Is there a
bear poodle?
Poodle bear lab leak theory?
There's got to be. There has got to be.
In the woods of Los
The
Angeles.
wild things can come out of Wuhan, man. You just never know.
I love it,
There's
man.
got to be.
So number 2, man.
Good morning, bro.
How you doing?
I'm so well, man. I'm blessed. How are you?
Fantastic.
It is Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday morning. I'm with my buddy. We're drinking some delicious coffee.
Delicious hot
I would
Joe.
cheers to you, but the second cup you made, you gave to our producer.
I
'cause you're
did.
Just a good man.
I've also 5-day coffee purge.
See, you own a coffee shop. Why would you coffee purge? That just
So
there's things that are wise,
I will tell
and
you.
then there's things that Joe does.
So, well, let me explain. So when I was working on the Humankind film,
Uh-huh.
at one point I was doing 23-hour days
Oh no!
for 2 months.
How much
So-
caffeine did you put in?
2 pots of coffee, 2 pots of tea, 7 energy drinks daily.
That's not all right.
And so I was in a fishbowl for so long.
That's not.
And then like,
Could have pickled your liver,
bro, it was so bad. Luckily, I
Yeah.
forgot to drink water.
You say luckily?
I'm kidding.
Oh my god!
Totally kidding. The fact that I'm alive is God.
Yeah.
100%. So
100%.
I literally looked at that and I went, I could call a cardiologist because I know what I did,
Yeah.
or I could just stay off
Purge it.
caffeine.
Yeah.
So then I got off caffeine, and then everyone's like, coffee. And I was like, okay, God, you're funny. That's funny how that works. So
What year was Humankind?
Humankind was 6 years ago. So we're looking at 2016.
So like, and you just had your what anniversary at the coffee shop?
6 years.
Okay, so
So literally, yeah.
got it. You finish all of that. You're like, all right, coffee purge. I need to clean my system out. Then God's like, hey, you should open a coffee shop.
Yeah. And so I literally went, and so I still do it. I do 1 cup a day. That's about what I do. And then I'll do about,
Better be a good, strong cup.
well, it's amazing. I have a natural energy, so it's not as much.
Oh, I
as
feel
need.
that.
So like,
Imagine for work, you stare at W-2s. You stare at W-2s and pay stubs all day long.
didn't know you were painting a horror picture.
then, oh no, this is real life. You're staring at W-2s and pay stubs all day long, calculating income, and that's your life every day.
That sounds amazing.
Every day.
Yeah.
And imagine just 1 cup of coffee. I'm all about 1 cup of coffee. I drink 1 cup of coffee as well. I just drink it at a time. all throughout the day. Like
All
I'll,
the time.
I'll sit with friends or I'll have lunch with some realtors and we'll be anywhere and they'll joke and they're like, he's going to ask for coffee.
Yep.
And it's lunch, like whatever, having a grilled chicken. If you see me at Dancing Tomato and I'm having lunch and it's a grilled chicken Caesar salad, I'm having coffee with that. And the waitress is like, coffee? I'm like, yes.
Hey,
Yes.
well,
please.
I am under this understanding. I don't like anything owning me. I don't want anything controlling me.
Yeah, I feel that.
So like, I like to game, but if I'm playing and all of a sudden I'm like, I spent too much time,
Yeah.
full turkey.
Yeah.
I, love music. If I find myself obsessing over it for X amount of time, I'll
Sure.
go, hey, I need it.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's the moments that you spend, you just analyze your life and you realize the things that are important. And if you're doing something that's not important for a super long period of time. So I don't like anything controlling me in that. And so I'm weird like that. So even with coffee, I'll do about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I'll drink a cup every day.
Yeah.
And then I'm going, time out. Let's just get off it. I'm good. Just give it a little bit of time. So
Are there meetings for people that should probably drink coffee less?
yeah.
Should I start one?
Yes, you should. You should start at Steelhouse Coffee.
Joe, I've got a new group. We're going to meet weekly and talk about
This is our
how we should drink coffee less.
This is our CA meeting, Coffee Anonymous.
Yeah, coffee.
And here at Coffee Anonymous.
Alcoholics.
Yeah. So I feel, I don't know. I've always been that way. I've never liked something controlling me.
No, for sure.
So
100%.
that's why I do it.
I get
It's
that.
not, I sell it. So I always keep up on quality control, and I want to make sure I'm roasting the coffee around me all the time.
Yeah.
And that may sound like blasphemy, but
Hey, all good.
Yeah.
You know what you're good at. You know what you're passionate about. Allow those two things to merge, and
absolutely.
it's a good day. Somebody was asking me yesterday morning, they're like, how's your week going? And I mean, gosh, if you're in lending right now,
Yeah.
I think it was Monday morning, I woke up, phone's like, whatever, you scroll it down, the first thing, headline, Google, mortgage applications at a 28-year low. I'm like, awesome, I'm in mortgage lending, good times, right?
Oh, for sure.
And then like literally next morning, Tuesday morning, wake up, interest rates hit a 26-year high. I'm just like, wow, all right, good times, thanks Google. So I literally just like took the Google News thing off of the. I'm like, I don't want to start with your negativity.
Right. I don't need you.
I don't need you. I don't need you to. And then I was kind of catching myself, and I've never been one to grab my phone in the first. I mean, other than my alarm going off, I've never been big on grabbing my phone in the first 20, 30 minutes of my morning, just because I'm not trying to. Right. Sure. So, but I definitely caught myself in that little trend of waking up, pulling it down, not even like opening up Instagram or Facebook or anything social, just kind of seeing world news. And my gosh, world news right now, you can start going down some crazy, some dark thoughts, and you start getting all this, and you're like, you know what, God?
Yeah.
There are things in my life like we were chatting before we started, there are things in my life, God, that I can control. And there are things in my life that I cannot control. So God, I just lay before you what I cannot control, and give me wisdom and discernment in the items and the aspects of my life that I can control.
Yeah.
And as long as we do our absolute best in what we can control, allow that to ripple effect, then we're going to do our best with any day that God gives us.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's easy to get into the toxic spiral. Right. I call it the spiral of death, because all of a sudden something happens that you can't control, and another thing happens you can't control, and another thing happens you can't control.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you look at everything and you're all, why does everything suck so bad?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have to reset and rethink. And it's, I'm blessed to have a wife and kids. So when I get home, that even if the day is awful, I can just go,
I am still so blessed.
Oh, man.
Because I still have so much that so many people want and aspire to have.
Yes.
And that's just refocusing. That's just retooling. One of the best parts of this week, and it ended up being a great week for work. I helped 5 families open escrow this week. So it ended up just being amazing. A crazy work week. Thank God. Because it's been so slow. Best part of my week had nothing to do with escrow, had nothing to do with lending.
Yeah.
Monday morning, 8:15, myself and 12, 13 volunteers met up, linked up with our friends at the Yuba Sutter Food Bank.
It's amazing.
Quick segue, last Thursday, crew of volunteers and myself met up at the food bank, put together just over 1,000 food boxes over the course of like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And the food bank, shout out to the food bank, my friends at the food bank, oh man, it's such a well-oiled machine. It's incredible. And we've been volunteering there now going on 2 years. So every time we do it, we get better at it. Every time we're there, the coordinator, shout out to my friend Maria Ball and that whole crew over there, they have it all set up. So long, 5 or 6 tables long, and there's just pallet, non-perishable food items going in, pop. Every box has a certain amount of canned fruit, vegetable, so on and so forth. A type of protein.
Yeah.
Get it all done, package it up, set it on a pallet. They'll wrap it, throw it into the truck, and that's all we had ever done until a couple months ago. And then a lot of people started asking me, well, like, now what? Like, we see it go onto the pallet, get wrapped, and go into up on a pallet truck, and then stacked in the warehouse. What's next? And then they started asking us, like, hey, do you guys want to be part of the actual donation drives? I'm like, yes.
Oh,
that's the meat and potato.
Well, yeah, you get to see people.
You get to see people. You get to physically pick up the boxes because it feels good to go and volunteer at the food bank, put things into boxes. You know that box is eventually going to positively impact a family. That part feels good. Check that box, right?
Yeah.
But then when you get to interact with the people, the family rolls up in the truck. Good morning, how you doing? Having that quick little spark of just love and energy, and just kind of lifting them up. How you doing, ma'am? And then just chatting with them, right? Just trying to be a little bit of a bright spot in their day. And then right there, you're just throwing that same box that we had put together based on how many individuals are in their family and what
Absolutely,
they need.
yeah.
Boom, and just setting it, and then down the line the cars go. But it was sombering Monday morning, starting the week, rolling into the Kmart parking lot, and the Sutter County allows us to use the old loading docks for Kmart.
Yep.
So the food bank trucks will back in right there. They'll get everything off the pallet that we need, and cars will start lining up at 7:15, 7:30 to get in line for the 8:30 donation.
Yeah.
And when I rolled up into the parking lot, I was like, is there some kind of festival going on? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
The cars, too wide, lined all the way up against the tennis courts behind Kmart, all the way down up against NS Fit Health Club, and all the way down, almost all through the front of the parking lot of Kmart, almost all the way to Gray. Too wide. And I'm just like, this is why you're here.
Yeah,
like
100%.
This is why you're here.
Yeah.
If you can make a positive impact on this many people,
yeah,
this morning, you're gonna have a great week. 0 escrows, 5 escrows. That's God controls my finances, and He's faithful in that, and He always has been. This is why you're here.
100%.
Love on these people, positively impact these people. So the hope is that you give them something that they can go and give to somebody else, despite the food and despite, the food bank and all that they do and actually feeding these families. If you can just positively impact someone in that regard, allow them to take that home with them. I don't know. It just goes back into, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You never know what somebody's going through. You don't know how a smile is going to change their life, how holding the door for an individual may just be the spark that allows them to maybe not give up hope on society.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Well,
so
I think
those opportunities.
Hope is a seed, and when it's planted, it brings good fruit. You know what I mean?
Period.
And I think that
judge the tree by the fruit.
Yeah. We live in a place, one of my favorite scriptures is hope deferred causes a heart to grow weak. But then it continues, a promise fulfilled is like a tree planted next to everlasting waters. And so,
come on,
like, we can look at the financial market and get discouraged. You can look at the housing market and get discouraged. You can look at just
everything.
You
can look at anything right now and be discouraged.
Yep. And you have a reason to be. I mean, because there is all this stuff going on. But that's when you go, you know what? It's not going to be like this forever.
No.
And
hang in, hold fast.
Hold fast. Who's around me? Who can I bless? Who can I be around? What can we do? How can we help establish things? And that's what matters, because in the end, when we're planting those seeds of hope and we're watering them, they're going to bring forth fruit, and that fruit's going to go back.
100%.
It's so easy in business element to think about the bottom line, to always looking at the dollar. I've been taking a fast from news because it's been so much, right?
Yeah.
So the last 4 days, I have a couple daily podcasts keeping me up with news, so I can just keep what's going on. I was like, I can't. Like, my heart was so heavy and it was hurting so hard. I can't even do it. So I was like, all right. So I was like, what else do I have? So I started like, oh, here's some business podcasts I haven't checked out. I'll check them out. So I started listening to them. And it was awesome to hear them talk about process. But one thing that bothered me consistently is it was so much about the bottom line. It wasn't about people and the impact that it had. It was like, oh yeah, you can get X amount of leads by paying X amount of money. If you do this with X amount of things, this formula works with X, and then you'll make X amount of money. You want to be a millionaire by this age, you just do this, this, and this. That's great. But even one of the guys I was listening to goes, yeah, I was a millionaire by the age of 26, and then I was bored and I was lonely and I didn't know what to do because I arrived and didn't have anybody to share it with.
Lonely at the top.
So, and then, I mean, that's a thing that no one talks about. The number one suicide range is people that are in the $1 million range. It's not poverty. It's not. You can go into a third world country. None of them are killing themselves. They may be digging a hole in the back and taking a dump, but they're not killing themselves.
Yeah, it's wild.
So
as soon as you change that paradigm of success equals X, and like, no, it does not.
In America, we do a really good job of putting up this gaslight of being like, this is how you're happy. Amazon will make you happy. Money will make you happy. And it doesn't.
Then you get there and All
Every
you
time.
want is more time. You get to the end of your life and doesn't matter what's in your bank account. All you want is more time and regret not spending more time. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
One thing that I've always, one thing I've always done, and I've done this honestly since I was a kid. I've always prayed for wisdom and discernment. I feel like this is something that God has given me.
Sure.
I've always, in any circumstance or any situation, I always take myself out of it, and it allows me to be just uberly, grossly present in a situation. And it's a matter of taking yourself out of a certain situation, taking yourself to the end of your life, and then seeing that situation that you're in right now at the end of your life, having a conversation with yourself at the end, saying, hey, me at the end of my life, what would I do differently? Or how would I best spend this time now that I'm here? And then like kind of having this very intrinsic but deep conversation with yourself, future cast. And most often than not, that conversation is just focus.
Yeah.
Blinders on, focus. Nothing else matters other than that moment. So love on your people.
Yes.
Spend time with them.
Yep.
Remember, the best ratio that God gave us is 2 ears, 1 mouth. Shut up and listen. Hear people out. That's all so many people need.
For sure.
Period.
Well, my music mentor was also my pastor growing up, Bob Hall. Called him Uncle Pastor Bob. Him and my dad were best friends. They hung out all the time. And I remember, sad he passed 10 years ago. It was longer than that, 12 years. Anyways, when he passed, I remember going to the funeral, and it was at the Church of Glad Tidings Church, and it can seat 900 people, and then it's got the lobby. Well, it was packed inside. There were no seats, standing room in the back. The lobby was packed. People were outside of the building.
Impact.
And I was just like, oh, and they left it. And I've never seen this at a funeral. They left it open for anybody to tell a story. They didn't actually set a time limit. They said, hey, if you need to go, you need to go. We're just going to have testimonies. We're going to honor him. Just tell stories. And I heard over 100 stories of people saying, he was my best friend and he cared about me. From people I've never even heard of, to pastors of churches now, to all of these things. And it was one of those like, wow. And I sat there in disbelief. And I remember I was just sitting there and I was just trying to process it because I'd never seen an impact like that before. You hear about it, right? But I've never, ever seen it. And I sat there and I just was like, I can't live up to that. I can't do that. And
big shoes.
Oh man. And I just felt, how God speaks. I just felt him in my heart. And he just said, he's like, every conversation can lead to this. Every moment you have can lead to this, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's the reality. How we impact our lives, It's a Wonderful Life. Love the movie. But that movie actually impacts me.
I love that he's a loan officer.
That's why you got it. I got it. Okay.
I got in Lenning because of It's a Wonderful Life. No. I just love every Christmas where I'm like, he's so stressed out. And I'm like, wait. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This resonates. This really resonates.
So, but like that movie, it sums it up. You can't see the impact that you're having. You can only see the failures, You never can see that farther thing.
Absolutely.
And sometimes your impact lives long enough for you to see it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't. And there's that amount of understanding where you have to go, I'm okay.
Yeah.
The impact that I made, I don't get to see.
At least here.
Yes, exactly.
At least on earth.
100%.
But I think if anything, if you're just future minded or heavenly minded in that regard, you're just putting jewels in your crown.
Yep.
In heaven, just from every positive impact and loving on people. If it gets down to the root reason, why are we here?
Yeah.
Why are we created? We're created for connectivity. God wanted to interact with us. He didn't make us as robots. He wanted us to interact. So we're built with a specific puzzle piece hole in our bodies, in our spirits, in our minds. And that is only filled with connection, period. First and foremost with him. And then individuals, our family, our friends, and those that we interact with, people in our community.
I mean,
If we are built as
Yeah.
communal beings, gosh, and then you take us to 2020 and everything is stay home, don't gather. And then what happens? Suicide rates shoot through the roof.
Yep.
And you're kind of like, of course they did. It's terrible to say, but of course they did. If we are communal beings at the foundational core at an anatomical level, and all of a sudden we're told that we can't connect, and that's what we're built to do.
yeah, for sure.
It's like, oh, what?
Well, I mean, I even think about, what did Jesus say? I mean, he said all of these can be all of the commands can be fulfilled by these two things. He says it in Matthew: love your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Okay, so I love the introvert debate. Like, it's like, oh, I'm an introvert. I don't like people. Okay, I'm gonna call BS on that.
Mhm.
You're an introvert. That means you love people intently.
Yeah,
And
and
if
in a
they don't
different
put-
way.
And if they don't put that intent back, you
Yeah.
have a hard time receiving it.
Sure.
I'm an extrovert, so I
don't
don't
say.
mind having. Oh, you are? No
No,
way.
never.
I have no problem going, hey, how's it going? And just having those conversations when I'm
Yeah.
around people. I get energy.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But the energy input and output has nothing to do with how you receive love and how
100%.
you need community. Because if you're by yourself and you are used to seeing that guy walk his dog outside the window, that may seem like a random occurrence
Mhm.
that happens every day. You see it, no big deal. But then it becomes part of your life and you're used to seeing it. And then when you don't see it, there's a sadness like, oh,
But
it's
dog's okay.
right. It's this consistency that we're used to. And so whenever anything gets thrown out of our consistency, we wonder, we
Mhm.
curious, we worry. And that's where hope needs to come in, right?
Yeah.
It's in that place of worry when we need to go, you know what? I don't know what to do, but I have this person. I'm going to call them and see how they're doing. And even if you're both saying the exact same thing, even if you're like, yeah, it's been really hard. Yeah,
Firm.
it has been really hard.
Firm believer in
Right.
that.
You're at least talking. You're at least having a connection. You're making something, you're taking the worst case experience and you're making it something as a memory with somebody that they can help, even if it's having the conversation, getting it off your chest. Having that confidant is so important. So I always laugh because
100%.
you'll hear people like, I'm an introvert. I don't like people. And I'm like, no, that's not true.
Mhm.
I'm an extrovert. I love people. No, it's
Yeah.
also not true.
Yeah.
There are times when
They're
I
not
go over,
constants.
what I hate, I will say, if I have one pet peeve, my biggest pet peeve is surface
Bad
level.
coffee. Okay, sorry.
Well, there's that.
Got it.
Not when I'm not having any coffee. So,
Got it.
but my biggest pet peeve is surface level conversations when you can tell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're talking
Yeah.
with somebody, and you're like, "How you doing?" They're like, I'm good. You don't
Yeah.
seem- you okay? You want to talk about it? No, I don't want to talk
Yeah.
about it. And you're like, okay, I get it. It's your thing. I'm open for you to talk. And that's cool. Like, whatever, respecting. I get it. 2 weeks later, how you doing? Oh,
Mm,
you want to talk about it? No.
I think I've always struggled with that because I and if you're a friend of mine, you know this. I don't let people get away
For
very
sure.
often with really surface level conversations. Like I'll because it'll be on my mind for the rest of the day. If I chat with somebody and I see that they're
Yes.
maybe not doing well, they're on my heart, and they're on my heart for a reason.
Yes.
I feel,
Absolutely. 100%.
and then I'll reach out and be like, hey, just checking in on you. Is everything okay? And I've actually had some people take that like the wrong way. Like I was like trying to pry, and I'm like, that's not my intent. Like I just want to make sure that you're good.
Yeah.
Like if you're good, I'm good. Like I want to make sure that you are in a good
I
headspace.
respect your boundaries. I respect who you are.
Yeah.
But I see that something's off, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to be an open door for you. And I
Mhm.
want to have this conversation because
Yeah.
I care about you.
Because and that individual may not have those people. And I think those individuals are the ones that are a little bit more like, whoa, like, oh, I'm good. And they just put up the front like, oh, I'm good. I got it all together. It's like, okay, I'm a safe space. I'm a safe place. Like, let's have a conversation.
Absolutely. Well, and it's always funny because I see more of that mindset in business.
Oh yeah.
And what it is, oh, your competition. I don't care.
Yeah.
If
Let's
we're
all
the last two people on earth trying to sell coffee,
Yeah.
I care about you. You
Yeah.
seem like something's off. Let's talk.
100%.
It's not about that. If all I was put on this earth to do was to make coffee, I would hate life.
Same.
I like it.
No, I get it.
Honestly, I
No,
enjoy
get
it.
I get it.
But
I get it.
handing that cup of coffee, seeing the expression, having that conversation, that is
Yeah.
the moment that I
Yeah.
cherish.
100%.
Not sitting there making you a cup of coffee.
No.
I want to make sure, you know, and so
The connection.
the older I get, the more I realize, is it age that makes you not want to have good conversation? Because think about it when you're a kid, like you're 5 years old, and I remember plenty of times someone would like mess with me. I'd be like, I don't want to talk with you. Why? I'm mad at you. Why are you mad? I don't want to tell you. Well, tell me. Well, you said this about me. I didn't like that. And you confront
2
them,
weeks ago.
yeah. And then all of a sudden they confront, there's a confrontation. And then what happens? If
Resolve.
it's resolved. And then next, you know, that guy's my best friend.
Yeah.
It's fixed.
Don't just but God, there's so much wisdom. There's so much wisdom in that. And there's so much poison in keeping things to yourself.
Yeah. It just destroys you, man.
Going back to our first podcast when we were chatting about the strength of trees is in the roots.
Yep.
And the strength of trees are when those roots lock in together, and despite the storm, they're together and they're locked in. No matter what's happening up at the top of the tree, that tree's not going anywhere because that strength in root system and that those roots in lying together.
Well, I think there's this mindset that we have of, I don't want to call it subservient. It's almost like a classism. It's a mindset that because you're making more than me, we aren't equal, or because you're making less than me, we're not equal. And we allow money to become that monetary thing. And that is when I believe the money is the root of all evil. It is when it becomes more important than the
love of money.
Talking. And I think that
love of money,
100%. And I think that that's what people don't realize is that is permeated so much in our society that we allow that to determine our own success and our feeling of success.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
I totally agree.
And so when you talk with somebody, it's like, oh, they're super successful. I can't really talk with them. And you find they're just regular dude. Or you talk to somebody who's not as successful, and they're like, oh, will you help me with it? Well, that's your journey you're on. I can help you with whatever. You know, I'll help you with some stuff. Here's some things that I would do.
Meeting people where they're at. The magic is in meeting people where they're at. I love, and that's something that, yes, is there monotony to lending? Yes, but there's monotony to making coffee.
Everything,
to working at Staples, and there's monotony to anything, right? But what I always enjoyed the most about the fitness industry was my clients. And what I enjoy now most about lending is my clients. It all comes back to people and just meeting them where they're at. And I love when I get a review and it literally says nothing about whatever, the interest rate or the loan or the da-da-da. They're just like, Cam was so human and was so present and answered all of our questions. And we made an incredible friendship out of this escrow.
Well, that's the best people.
Scratches like the most internal itch that I have.
Well, that's the best people in any group, any demographic, any group. It's those people that are doing it because they want to serve other people. And they want to help better other people.
Yeah.
You know, like it's funny in the hospital. Most of the people that worked there was like, I remember I was 6 and I broke my leg and the paramedics came and they picked me up and they took care of me. And I remember being in the hospital and everyone was so nice. That's why they became a nurse. Well, that's why they became a doctor. It's always something resonating with something else because of the kindness that was pursued, which creates hope. And that hope drove them 18 years of their life to become something and to influence that market. That's the power we have with one moment of kindness. But think about, most people you talk to are mechanics. They're like, yeah, I started working on cars to help my buddy out, and I realized I really liked it. Or my dad was a mechanic, and I totally want to get it.
Yeah.
It's always based off of serving each other. We've allowed our tasks that we do to become more predominant when that isn't.
No, that's not it.
It's never been the case. And when you get really good at something, you get so good at it, your brain now wanders. How many times have you been sitting there looking at the papers and you're going through the numbers and your brain, you're doing the right math, but your brain is wee.
That happens. Well, I'm going to blame my clients too, because we usually end up talking about our families, and they see my family up on the wall, and they start asking questions, and their kids down on the floor playing with like the books and the tanks and the balls that I have in my office. And next thing you know, we're like 30 minutes in, and we're just like laughing, and they're like, "So lending?" I'm like, oh yeah. Sorry, you're good. You guys I already ran credit earlier, and here's your pre-approval letter.
Did everything.
And there's like, wow, awesome, so good. Like, do you want another cup of coffee? Like, I don't know. The connection side. If you can find a connection side of any industry,
yep,
I feel it's going to allow you to be more passionate. Period. If you can, at any aspect, like I'm thinking of being in a coffee shop.
Yep.
I love walking into Steelhouse, and I love when the crew from behind, hey Cam, like I'm just like, that's where you want to be.
Yeah. I always tell what's a rule. And if you're not said, if this doesn't happen to you when you go to Steelhouse, you need to tell them, hey, this didn't happen, so they can fix it. The rule is to say hello anytime someone walks in and say goodbye every time someone leaves.
Love that.
To let them know that they're acknowledged.
Absolutely.
They're not just a person. Every single person. They're not just a person that comes in, that sits down and is ignored.
They're not inventory. They're not 2 coffees and a sandwich and a bagel.
It's not about that. It's about building that community. And I know the importance of just being acknowledged. Just being acknowledged can change somebody's entire day when they feel like they're stuck in a monotony and their whole life is in this big loop. They're literally Groundhog Day, right? They're stuck in this loop. They can't get out of it. And I think that's why you have a lot of people. I think that's why there's midlife crises. I think it's because they're in this cycle that never stops, and they never get acknowledged for anything other than
break out of the monotony.
And then they're like, I need to change it, so I'm leaving.
This red Corvette's gonna do it. I'm gonna be so mumuch happier now with this red Corvette in my garage.
Am I the only person that makes those jokes? I like literally been driving and I'm like, oh, there's midlife crisis. And my wife's like, be nice. I'm like, it's very evident.
I mean, come on, look at him.
Come on, I'm not trying to be mean.
Not that there's anything with nice things. Not that there's anything wrong with nice things.
No, not at all.
But
you can tell.
You got to put your appropriate prioritizations.
You got to put your behind in your past. No. You got to put your past behind.
Got to put your past in your behind. Lion King.
Oh, man, I love it. So, yeah.
2 minutes after a Groundhog's Day quote.
Yes. So I genuinely think that's the way it works, though. And I think
100%.
Because we start seeing these systems, right? I'm a firm believer that everything is a system and that we want to feel like we're part of those systems. But some of those systems are not meant for us to feel a part of because it's not productive.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's that business element where I understand this system is not a system.
You have to change. You have to change what you feel is productive.
Yes.
What is productive, and why is the goal only productivity? Or allow productivity to be more impact based, less stock number. This many pounds of coffee were sold. This many sandwiches, had to buy 3 loaves of sourdough bread.
Yep.
Allow that to be the connection aspect. Obviously harder to quantify, and obviously harder to run a business purely off of just passion, because you have to have some numbers involved there as well.
Yeah.
Right. But that's the mindset.
Well, I think that's why I like. Have you ever listened to Simon Sinek?
I don't know that I have.
He's amazing.
Okay.
He actually talks to CEO board members, and he goes, I love it when they give me the line, we're here for the customer. And he goes, you are on a board. You haven't talked with a customer in 6 years. How can you say you're actually in it for the customer? Because you've never met one. And they're like, and he goes, don't lie. If you're not, your job isn't to do that. Your job is to do this. Just acknowledge that's your job.
Yeah.
Don't give yourself a line and feel like you're doing something that you're not. And I think that's right. Truth will always manifest itself. And so like, that's why when I look at all the darkness that's happening and all these things, and I look at how much of this stuff that has been established is the process of truth being manifest itself. Like, we spent too much during COVID. That sucked. The truth is, we're now experiencing what that happened right now.
Yep.
It manifested itself, whether we wanted it to or not.
Absolutely.
It's easy for us to go, well, that's not. Imagine if you lie to yourself. Imagine if you helping somebody as fitness, and they're like, oh yeah, Twinkies, super healthy. Yeah, I got a protein Twinkie. It's like the best thing ever. And you look at it and you're like, yeah, it's 100 grams of carbs and 3 grams of protein.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, but focus on the protein.
They're like, man, it's so healthy. And so they start downing it. They start downing it. And they're like, yeah, man, I'm going to get so fit. This is like my favorite snack. 6 months later, when they've gained 20 pounds, their knees hurt and they don't have the energy they had then before.
Yeah.
You didn't have to tell them. By the way, the Twinkie's not good. He's gonna be like, man, I think something's up. I think these Twinkies are a lie. And you'll be like, yeah.
What do you know? What do you know?
Right?
If you give away billions and trillions of dollars, the value of the dollar may go down. Who'd have thought?
Yeah. So
Who'd have thought?
and that's when I look at a lot of things and I laugh. And this is why, like, I've been backing out of listening to politics and stuff because we're at a point now where as ugly as it is,
you don't need it.
We're seeing the truth.
Yep.
And the truth is ugly sometimes. It's not what I want. You know, if I wake up and I'm exhausted and I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, let's see.
And you scream.
Normally.
Okay, got it.
That's normally after I do a slap check to see how long the jiggling stops. And then when it stops, I go,
3 seconds.
Yes. Down from 4.
Down from 4.
It's my morning routine. No one steal it.
Jump jack. 3, 2, 1.
It's still going.
Regina, you okay? Yeah, I cut myself shaving. Why do you cry every morning? These are sharp razors.
So if I don't remember what I was freaking.
I don't know.
Oh, but the truth will manifest itself no matter what, and I think that's something we have
100%.
to come to terms with. We have to look at ourselves in the mirror and go, okay, truth is violent sometimes. Sometimes truth is not what we want. And you know, if you have bitterness between another person and that bitterness escalates to a place in your heart where you're going to hurt somebody, the truth of the matter is you're going to harm them. If you hate yourself so much for X amount of time, the truth of the matter is you're going to harm yourself. These are things that people don't want to talk about, but these are truths. Okay? And when the lie disappears and you're only left with the truth, if you don't have the people around you to help you pick those pieces back up, it's going to be hard. And, you know, that's why I look at all the stuff happening. And there's this like, like you were saying, you saw all that news and you're like, but there's that part of me that goes, you know what? I have such a good community that even if the worst thing happens, we're going to come together.
Yep.
We're not going to forget people. We're not going to leave people out. We're going to find a place for people. That's because we've created a community and a society like that. And that's the reason I have friends moving. They're like, California sucks. Because, and I'm like, good for you, man.
Okay.
And then I'm like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going out to so-and-so. Do you have any family out there? Well, no. Well, why? The houses is cheaper and everything's cheaper.
Like so.
And I don't like the
So
politics.
the goal is cheaper.
And I'm like, so you want to live a cheaper life and not have politics? So you're running away from the fight or running away from the issue that's happening now. And then when you get there, you're expecting it not to follow you. And you're going to go, yeah. And then 15 years later, you're going to be like, man, everything changed. It's like
grass is not always greener.
It never is. And the only thing that keeps
green where you water it.
You know, if you have a community, you can survive the worst times. And if you are by yourself,
because you're in it, you're not in it alone. You're in it together.
And if you have all the best things, man, like again, the millionaires, the suicide rate, like that's an important thing to look at. If you have all of the best things and you have all the things in the world, but you don't have anybody to share it with, you don't have that community, you don't have a reason to invest it back, you're not looking at bringing hope into people and watering those seeds, you run into that existential crisis that causes you to go, why am I here?
Yep.
Right?
And as soon as you're questioning that and you realize that all of the years of hard work and pursuit and energy and sacrifice of relationship and family and I got to get to the top. Lonely at the top. You've stepped on everybody's neck to get there. And you didn't bring anyone with you. So all of your prior relationships are in spite of your success.
And the truth that you ignored, that you decided to live in, a lie, it manifested itself until the truth finally hit you. And that's when I told my kid the other day, there was something happened. He's like, someone said such and such. I said, guess what? That is what he believes. Totally fine. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
If it is true to him, then truth will manifest itself in its own way. It is not our job to call out a lie. It is our job to love somebody. And then wherever they're at, be part of their community. So whatever does happen, we can be there to help them. I hate the mindset of I told you so. And I hate the mindset
poisonous.
You deserve this, because all it is just bitterness.
Watch out.
Because now you're living in that, again, you're living in that lie.
It's a yucky place to be.
What happens when it manifests itself? Again, see, this is how I look at things. And this is even why I wanted to start the podcast with you, because we have an optimism naturally. We look at the world, and even though bad things happen, how many times I'm like, bro, this is going on. You're like, hey man, let's talk, let's have coffee, let's chit chat. And we'll talk about the good things. We'll talk about the bad things. But in the end, we know that we love each other. And the fact that I know that that I have relationships like that is more impactful than anything else.
100%.
And the thought of let's have our conversation impact other people's conversation, and let's not look at all this negative stuff. You know, when the COVID lockdowns hit, we did a live podcast for a month, and all I did was look up positive news.
You have to.
I literally went, "Oh, did you know that in Russia, a guy just farmed vegetables that was in a snow base? He actually put copper coils under the ground to heat the soil and then grew vegetables in the middle of a blizzard. He invented it." Like, I was literally looking up stuff like that, just trying to give positive information.
Yeah, give somebody something to hold on to.
So,
because in a world where it's so quick to turn on the news and just get so devastated with negativity, if you have no, to completely forward your point there. Why are we doing this podcast? This podcast is to positively impact people.
Yes.
Period. People can listen to this on their way to work. They can listen to it while they're on the treadmill. I want it to positively impact them in some way. I want to interview people that are making a difference. I want to collaborate, rub shoulders with people that are making a difference and an impact.
Yep.
And then as soon as you realize that anyone is a great candidate on this show, purely because anyone at any age, profession, no matter how much they make or don't make, or whatever, whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit or whatever it is, we're all here for a reason.
Yep.
And again, at our most anatomical level, we're built for connection. And this is about community and connection and loving on people.
Absolutely.
And getting individuals that are like-minded to rally around each other and support each other. And the wider you cast that net of optimism and the wider you cast that net of just passion and love, you bring more people with you wherever you're going.
Absolutely.
And I may not always know where I'm going, but I know that I'm going to love people on the way.
Yeah. So if you're interested in being on this podcast, hit us up. Let us know. You're probably friends of us. If not, go on to the Facebook pages, look us up, either Joseph Steele or Cameron Elkins. Send us a line, let us know. We're working on our social media and stuff to get that stuff going. So this episode, I'm gonna land the plane because we can talk for hours.
We can.
This episode has been brought to you by Guild Mortgage, Cameron Elkins.
Hey.
If you are like, man, I really would like to get a house. Do I qualify? How much money do I need to have? What's my credit score look like? How can I make these things better? Cameron Elkins is your guy. He will not just bring professionalism, and he promises he won't ignore the W-2s, even though it may bore him. He promises to put his best foot forward, and he will give you the best thing you can get and give you hope. And if you're not laughing and having a cup of coffee while doing it, you're going to have it.
And this second podcast is also brought to you by Joe Steele and Steelhouse Coffee. If you're looking for a place to warm up that morning, a place to interact with a staff that is client forward and community forward and loving and passionate about what they do, pop into Steelhouse Coffee, bust out that Cam sandwich, get that warm cup of coffee in the morning. Get out of line at any of the other Starbucks or maybe I shouldn't say names. Don't get out of line at Starbucks, but your next cup of coffee, allow that to be a mom and pop shop.
Yep.
Go support them and go find that place where you can connect with people that are like-minded and that want to make a positive impact like you do.
Thank you. Love you, bro.
Love you, bro.
That's a wrap.